4. Our board chair, Ms. Edwards, is online, as well as Dr. O'Quinn. So all 9 members are present and accounted for. At this time, we will ask Reverend Brown to please lead us in our pledge of allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. At this time, I'll entertain a motion for the approval of tonight's agenda.
Madam Vice Chair, I move that we approve the agenda of February the 8th, 2022.
Second. It has been properly moved and second to for the motion to approve the agenda for tonight's meeting. All those in favor, raise your hands. Ms. Edwards. Dr. O'Quinn.
I'm in favor.
Ms. Edwards. The motion carries. I'll now entertain a motion for the approval of the minutes from January 11th, 2022.
Madam Vice Chair, I move that we approve the minutes from the meeting of January 11th, 2022.
Second.
It has been properly moved and second. All those in favor of the approval of the minutes for January 11th, 2022, please raise your hand. Dr. O'Quinn.
I'm in favor.
Ms. Edwards.
I'm in favor.
Motion carries. We will now move into our awards and recognitions.
Madam Vice Chair, ladies and gentlemen of the board, Superintendent Dr. Foster, visitors and friends joining us, good evening. The Office of HR is excited again to recognize our January Rookie Teacher of the Month. Our recipient of the Rookie Teacher of the Month is Mr. Kevin Giss II from Lake Marion Technology Center. Mr. Giss was nominated by an administrator that said, Mr. Kevin Giss has made quite a positive impact on the students and staff at Lake Marion Technology Center. Daily, he works diligently as he implements numerous research-based strategies to teach and reach the students in his classroom. He also makes learning relevant by sharing some of his personal experiences which students thoroughly enjoy. Not only does he give 100% inside of the classroom, but he works just as hard outside of the classroom where he serves as the sports trainer for all sports on campus. Mr. Giss is an educator and trainer who helps student athletes prevent and manage injuries sustained during physical exertion. Indeed, Mr. Giss is an asset to Lake Marion faculty, staff, and students. The January prizes were sponsored by the SCEA and Reverend Michael Butler and Victory Tabernacle Deliverance Center. Accepting on behalf of Mr. Kevin Giss is Dr. Johnny Murdoch, Director of the Lake Marion Technology Center. Please join me in congratulating Mr. Kevin Giss.
Good evening. Good evening. Board Chair, Ms. Edwards, Orangeburg County School District Board of Trustees, Superintendent Dr. Foster. The HR department is excited about the implementation of the OCSD Employee of the Month initiative. The purpose of the OCSD Employee of the Month program is to recognize and highlight individuals that exhibit characteristics that allow OCSD to accomplish the mission and vision established for students. Research indicates that employees that have positive perceptions about their working conditions are much more likely to remain with an organization. Recognizing employee dedication and commitment to the mission and vision of the organization contributes to positive perceptions. This evening, we are pleased to recognize the first recipient of this recognition. Our Employee of the Month for January is Ms. Vanessa Ravenel from Whitaker Elementary School. Ravenel was recommended by her site. Excerpts from her nomination reads as follows. From the time we entered into the pandemic, Ms. Ravenel has been the front office receptionist, classroom substitute, cafeteria meal delivery assistant, support to other new bookkeepers in the district, school communication partner to parents, etc., etc., etc. Through everything that she has done, she has been instrumental in supporting everyone at Whitman. She helps without being asked and has even encouraged others to pitch in and not have a "it's not my job" mentality. She has been a true gem to everyone she encounters. Ms. Ravenel is not only committed to Whitaker, she is committed to ensuring that everyone knows that she enjoys where she works, as she reminds us that we are here for kids. In addition, Ms. Ravenel exhibits excellent customer service. Customer service is more than a smile and a hello. Although these are essential, so is the ability to diffuse situations and to speak with great high regard about the people and the place in which you work. Ms. Ravenel assists with ensuring that parents enter feeling good and leave feeling better. It is an honor to have Ms. Ravenel as an employee in Orangeburg County School District. Please join me in congratulating Ms. Vanessa Ravenel, our January Employee of the Year. I gotta tell you, Ms. Ravenel probably thought she was here to work with some budget information. So we gotta surprise her this evening. Thank you.
Again, congratulations to Mr. Diz and Ms. Ravenel on your well-deserved recognition. We're very proud of you. We're ready for the superintendent.
Madam Vice Chair, ladies and gentlemen of the board, Dr. Foster, thank you for the opportunity to share some good news about our students. I'm going to advance that slide, excuse me. We are going to begin with a recognition for one of our student athletes at Orangeburg Wilkinson High School. OW's senior basketball guard, Jordan Simpson, has been named preseason Region 5 Player of the Year, preseason South Carolina Basketball Coaches Association Top 5 Senior, member of the 21 Holiday Hoop Fest All-Tournament Team, and the most outstanding player for the 2021 Orangeburg County Basketball Tournament. He has received for his academics as well as his athletic accomplishments numerous offers and scholarships to colleges, including a very long list, such as High Point University, North Carolina Agricultural and Technical State University, SC State, Miles College, Shaw University, Claflin University, Spartanburg Methodist, USC, Sakahatchee, Benedict College, Augusta University, Mississippi Valley State University, Birmingham University, and Polk State College. And the list goes on and on and on. Thank you for the opportunity to congratulate this outstanding student athlete, and we wish him great future success in his life as well as his academic and athletic pursuits. Thank you.
Let me just take this opportunity to personally congratulate Jordan. I've watched him for quite some years now on this road, and he's an excellent player. I had the opportunity to visit the Orangeburg Wilkinson's awards program last week, and of course, I heard his name being called, so not only is he able to play basketball, he's doing excellent in his schoolwork. So Jordan, if you're listening, congratulations to Mom and Dad. You've done a good job with him, so keep it up.
Thank you very much. We agree. The National Beta State Convention allows students the opportunity to compete in various academic and STEM-based visual and performing arts competitions. This year, the state convention was offered as a hybrid event. It was just held from January 12th through the 14th for both elementary and middle schools, giving students the opportunity to compete either virtually or on-site in Myrtle Beach. The state winners and their victories provide an opportunity for these students to compete at the national level at the Beta Club's National Convention, which is being held this summer in Nashville, Tennessee. Several of our schools, including Branchville Middle High, Holly Hill Elementary, St. James Gilliard Elementary, and Edisto Elementary, are celebrating their recent participation in the state convention, where they were announced as both individual and group winners. I'm going to begin with Branchville's Beta Club. Their winners include, for 6th grade science, Riley Metz. She finished in 5th place. Daisy O'Quinn won 3rd place for fiber arts. Ava Cottrell, 2nd place for mixed media, 2nd place for black and white photography, and also 2nd place for jewelry. They also had a 3rd place apparel design winner with Sally Weathers. We also have quite a few winners from Holly Hill's Beta Club, and these are separated first by grade level. So for our 4th grade winners, for drawing, we have Bethany Bunch, who won 1st place. Lauren Jenkins won 3rd place for jewelry. Faith Taplin is a 4th place winner for English language arts. Lauren Jenkins is a 5th place winner for mathematics. And Bethany Bunch won 5th place for social studies. For our 5th grade winners, we had a 1st place for Best of Show with Skylar Miller. For mathematics, Caleb Thompson won 1st place. Recyclable art, Skylar Miller won 1st place. Speech, Phoebe Lupton won 1st place. Fiber arts, 2nd place, Haley Robinson. Mixed media, 2nd place, Caleb Thompson. Painting, 2nd place, Madison Palmer. Sculpture, 2nd place, Xavier Summerson. Science, 4th place, went to Jermaine Pauling. And Nyasha Hart took home a 4th place finish for social studies. The last winner of that category is Emma Thornley with a 5th place winner for English language arts. In addition to their great number of individual winners from 4th and 5th grade, they also won some group awards, including 1st for performing arts, 1st for technology, 1st for the quiz bowl, 2nd for the banner, 2nd for living literature, 2nd place in robotics, 3rd place in performing arts for the solo, duo, and trio, and 4th place in engineering. Outstanding finish from Holly Hill. In addition to Holly Hill's victories, St. James Gilliard also had several Beta Club winners. These students are avid readers. We had students who competed in the book battle, and these students won 5th place. They read 12 books in order to compete collaboratively in the virtual book battle competition. And those student winners include Dalen Ferguson, Jocelyn Blanchard, and Braden Martinez. We also had a 5th grade mathematics winner from St. James, and that is Kadeem Alston. Our last Beta Club school to celebrate this evening is Edisto Elementary. They also had several winners, including Emily Fulmer, who won 2nd place for color photography, Colin Ard, who won 2nd for speech, and the 5th grade written quiz bowl, which is a group category. And we had a 4th place win there with Diego McElhaney, Rainey Calamag, Clark Dean, and Kayjon Kirk. Thank you for allowing us to celebrate these students and their success in the Beta Club. We wish them all the best this summer in Nashville. Thank you. We have several schools who are present tonight. They were so giving of their time to come and celebrate their students. I did just want to acknowledge them being here. We have the assistant principal from Branchville High, Ms. Natasha Grigg. Next to her is Edisto Elementary School counselor Angela Gordon. She's also the school's Beta Club sponsor, so she is celebrating with us tonight. Also from Holly Hill Elementary, we have Miriam James and Jason Bryant. And they are part of a large group of committed sponsors to their school's success. And we thank you all for the mentorship and leadership you're providing the students. Thank you.
Thank you.
We certainly are proud of all of our Beta Club students. That's where it begins, down there in elementary. Keep up the good work. You've done an outstanding job with these students. Dr. Foster?
Yes, ma'am, Madam Chair, members of the board. As always, it's a pleasure for me to give my update. And I'm going to be short this evening and do my regular COVID update. And kind of make sure that this community continues to be aware of how we're tracking and again see the progress again. We're back on the right path. So as you see on the screen, the number of individuals that have been impacted in some shape, form, or fashion from COVID. So I know we try to add up the numbers, but they're getting a little bit too large. This is from the beginning of the school year. I just want to make sure that that's clear. But the best way to say that is only 2,847 students have not been impacted in some shape, form, or fashion out of our 11,000 students that we have here. Whether that be close contact, whether that be a positive or household contact, having to quarantine. So you see that data. So since the beginning of the year, as we all kind of figured, everyone at some point will be impacted, just a matter of how much. But only 2,800 students have not been impacted since the beginning of the school year. So that's the best way to phrase that particular slide. But how are we looking currently? You recall right before the Martin Luther King holiday that I had to make a tough decision to go virtual for a few days because our numbers had spiked to over 1,500 students being either quarantined or in isolation or positive. I'm happy to report that right now we have 251 students that are impacted right now to date. That are out of school, either again having to quarantine, being positive, or being in isolation. Even better news is that all of those students but 50 will be returning on Monday. As I always say, I'm sure we'll have some that will take their space, but it won't be as many. That's the hope. So hopefully on Monday we will have 50 students that are out of quarantine, aside from those that may be added to this list. And we continue to track this data on a consistent basis. Another result here is currently we only have, of those 251 students, only 34 of those students are actually positive. So we wanted to start to pull that data out to get a better picture of the impact of quarantines and isolations. So of the 251, only 34 of those are actually positive cases currently. So we're going to transition
So in conclusion, I want to close with this quote. Building a foundation, a solid foundation in the early years of a child's life will not only help him or her reach their full potential, but will also result in better societies as a whole. We just want to make sure we strengthen the foundation for our early learners. So as they matriculate through our system, we will have stronger outcomes. Are there any questions?
Madam Vice Chair, if I could add something to this. Now, first of all, I want to thank Dr. Stokes and the curriculum and instruction department for taking this on. This has become a passion of mine for a number of reasons. As I have looked around, the great thing about Orangeburg is we have a number of resources and people that want to care and provide services to our children. But if we're not careful and we don't align those things and streamline those things, we may find ourselves pulling our children in multiple directions and not being as productive as we hoped it would be. But imagine being able to leverage our resources together where if there's something that I'm providing already and being able to extend that offering to one of these neighboring or partner organizations where they can then utilize their resources to fill in gaps. And we're being great stewards of the funds that we have. But at the end of the day, the smaller end of the funnel is going to be where they're going to continue their K-12 education. We have to make sure that our students are entering kindergarten ready to learn. That is the key. I'm reminded of a quote that I read a while back, and it says, "You can build strong borders or repair broken men." So that concept is we can continue to repair on the back end, or we can have a solid foundation upon which our teachers can build on. Our teachers are great and they can build on those foundations, but they're spending time being split with having to build and rebuild to fill in those gaps. So our goal is that every single child enters kindergarten in Orangeburg County ready to learn, so that our teachers can take them to their next height. So this is something I'm passionate about, and I hope that we can continue to work together and leverage our resources for our students. So thank you all for taking this on, and they've been tolerating me with a whole bunch of questions here today, but I appreciate that.
Thank you.
Ms. Stokes?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. My biggest concern at this moment is, are those students. We're into, is it year 2, year 3 of this pandemic? Those students who may have not really been in school, they've been in school but not in school.
Yes, ma'am.
My greatest concern is, where are these kids? Now, I know they're in school, but I'm talking about academically. Can you just give me a little snippet of how are they doing?
Well, across our state, a lot of children have suffered learning loss as a result of them learning virtually for such a long period of time and not having, especially young children, it's developmentally inappropriate most of the time for young children not to have connections with an adult. So we have a lot of interventions in place to recoup that learning loss. And that's why this partnership and other partnerships are so important, because I think all of the members of the advisory council recognize that loss, and coming together, there's strength in numbers. And it's always said it takes a village to raise a child, it takes a village to recoup the learning loss. So we are trying our best to catch up those children, but it will take time.
So, Ms. Kelly, if I can add something to that. Sometimes we're not proud of our data, and we know the pandemic has had a huge impact on the implementation of things and successes. So the brass tacks of it all is right now, according to state data, 19% of our students are entering kindergarten ready to learn. So that's why we have to come together to leverage our resources, make sure that it's seamless. Because that's the last data point that is provided by the state for Orangeburg County.
Okay, thank you.
And I would just like to add that I'm glad to see the advisory board taking place, because I personally think that we need to have some common curricular platforms for students of this age. All of these students will eventually feed into Orangeburg County. And when you have all of these different curriculum platforms going out there, when students come in, you know, that can cause a gap in the learning there too. So I'm glad to see the advisory board being organized, and I hope that we'll be able to eliminate some of those disjointed learning platforms that are going on, and to see something very common so that our children are coming into kindergarten ready.
Yes, ma'am, and we have, we started this summer partnering with some child development centers, and they are actually, some of those centers are using Letterland, and that's what our early childhood classrooms have. Yes, ma'am, Ms. Carson.
Thank you, Dr. Stokes.
You're welcome.
For a report. They stole some of my thunder. I just want to ask now the place and time of your meeting.
Sure.
Where do you meet?
Yes, ma'am, they're held, the next meeting will be this Friday at 3 o'clock in Dr. Foster's conference room.
Thank you.
And attendees may join virtually if that's your preference. We can send you the Zoom link as well if you would like.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions for Dr. Stokes? Ms. Owen?
Yes, Dr. Stokes.
Yes, ma'am.
I noticed here that we are partying from work 5.
Yes, ma'am.
How are we getting the kids? How are we getting the participants for these programs?
The different agencies that we partner with spearhead certain ages. So for example, Save the Children. Save the Children has a offering where they go out and work with children that are younger than 4. And I know we serve some 3-year-olds in our district, but by partnering with these agencies, we're able to work with them with children from birth to 5.
One other question. Ms. Kelton asked about academics, and earlier I had a question about the data. We finished first semester, so do we have any data on our students, how well they did the first semester of the school year?
We do, but we can bring that in our next board meeting as far as any specific metrics that the board would want to know. We can do how many credits earned and pass fail. We can bring that data back. And this is, again, just to close, this is more about aligning the organizations, recruiting the younger children. That's their mission, is to get the students. We have to align the organizations together so that one knows what the next one's doing, so that then if we can lend support or have programs that we can share, it becomes seamless. So recruiting, but also gives me an opportunity as superintendent to know what pipeline of student is coming, because the challenge is to project pre-kindergarten numbers, because no one knows where they are sometimes, because some students are not in any program at all. They're at home. So we're trying to make sure we're leveraging those things, but it gives us insight as well. But again, leveraging resources. So I'm excited about it because we've had some great conversations with those other entities.
Any other questions? Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Financial services update?
Good job. You did a good job.
Good evening, Madam Chair, Madam Vice Chair, board members. I would like to provide a financial update for the month of January. Our total revenue received $17,091,328.74. 74% was received from local revenue. 24% was received from state, EFA, EIA. 2% was transfers, state transfers, which makes a total of 100%. Our total expenditures, $9,817,689.75. 60% salaries, 24% benefits, 7% purchase services, 6% supplies, 3% transfers. Our total revenue over expenditures is $7,273,638.99. This month, we were also able, and we paid our first payment back for our TAN. We have 3 payments to make. We made the first one in January for $4 million. We borrowed $12 million in TAN. So the first payment was due in January. We'll make the second one in February and the final payment in March. That is my financial update for tonight. Do you have any questions?
Not you, but since we're talking money, Dr. Foster, when will we get our audit report?
Our audit report hopefully will be next month. Our auditors are not ready to present. They had some issues with COVID. So they'll hopefully be here next month. We were able to submit our preliminary audit to the State Department. To meet the deadline of the 31st.
Yes, sir.
Of last month. So the preliminary audit has been submitted to the state, but they were not able to come here to actually present the audit.
Thank you.
Ms. Owen?
ESSA funds, again, have they been approved?
ESSA funds have been approved except for 2 categories, 12 and 13. And those are dealing with facilities that OSF has to approve.
I'm looking at, where are we transferring money from? I see on here, we got revenue, that revenue is going to come in, am I correct?
The revenue that we transfer over is we're transferring into the general fund, and it's the teacher's supplement that we transfer. We do a monthly transfer every month into general fund.
Okay, I saw a transfer here, E-rate. How much funding do we receive for E-rate?
Have not received any for E-rate yet for this year.
Do we know why?
Ma'am,
Do we know why we have not received any E-rate funding?
it's based, E-rate is based on a reimbursable, and I would have to check the technology to get an update on that.
Any other questions from the senators? Thank you.
You know, I just have a concern, this printing, we see in double and triple and quadruple and quadruple. I don't know if my glasses, I'm pushing them back, I don't have long enough on. The account numbers.
So you want us to try to enlarge it some for you?
We can print it on 17 by 11.
No, I don't need it larger, it just look as though the, maybe I need new glasses. I don't need it larger, it just,
We'll try different printers and see if the print's clearer for the results.
thank you.
Student services?
Good evening, Madam Chair, Vice Chair, and Board of Trustees. Good evening. Good evening. We're very excited to announce that we will partner with the South Carolina Department of Education to provide student vaccines for our students ages 5 through 11. This clinic will take place on February 19th, and the locations are Edisto Elementary School, Melisham Elementary School, and Holly Hill Elementary School. The clinics will take place at 10 a.m. to 2 o'clock p.m. And just like I indicated, this is a collaboration with the South Carolina State Department of Education. About 85% of our parents responded to the survey that was administered. And from this, the parents indicated that they would like their child or children to be vaccinated. And so from this, the responses that we received is according to the most responses that we received, the locations of the schools. So that's how we identify the locations of those schools. Just remember that also we indicated that this clinic is for students ages 5 through 11, but we will also have dosage for our students that are age 12 and older. So if you all know any students that need to be vaccinated, we're ready for them on February the 19th. Any questions?
Thank you, Dr. Calloway. This is some information that I would like. If a student has had COVID, how long does that student need to wait before they can get vaccinated? If you can just find that out for me.
Okay, I will. There was a time that I really knew. However, because of the new updates, I don't want to give out the wrong information. However, you'll have that in no time, okay? We'll make certain that you receive it.
I think it's still 90 days. 90 days.
Well, I'm hearing conflicting information because I think the last thing I heard was that after the 14th day, then they can receive the vaccination on the 15th day. And I this was the last change I've heard, and so it's kind of conflicting, but I would just like to know.
So Madam Vice Chair, let me do this. I think that's a great point, because you will hear a number of different things, and for the fear of giving out medical advice and not being appropriate, I wanted to make sure I get a medical doctor to say this is what it is, because the truth is be told, I believe Dr. Quinn is on point. I think it's different professionals to say they're fine. You know, I'll disclose my own personal child didn't have to wait 90 days to get theirs, but I've heard from others that they did. So I don't want to. My recommendation would be to consult your medical professional, and they'll give you based off your own condition. But I'll see if we can find out if there's any type of change, or if Dr. Quinn's on and he has anything he wants to add to that. Maybe he's probably better qualified at this point to give me that information.
That was just the last thing I heard on the hotline, so I'm not sure, but I appreciate it.
Yeah, I'll do some research, and it's just probably a text or call. We can get the information. Our nurse, Patty Paget, she's very upbeat with it. She keeps me up to date. However, I think my last conversation with her and just my personal reading was for myself, for an adult. So, and it's based on your vaccination period, the booster and everything. But we're good. Okay.
All right, thank you so much.
Okay.
Madam Chair, ma'am.
Yes, Dr. Calloway and others, thank you for this initiative. It's a great initiative. And I also have a question dealing with, I think some of your department, athletics.
Okay.
And I've been getting some concerns or from parents about the facilities and some things I think that can be taken care of now, especially from the parents from OW baseball, and there's some concerns that they have with the facility. And I think they might have been in contact with you, Dr. Foster?
Yes, ma'am. I believe we talked about that, Mr. Donner. The school, the lights there, when I responded, the lights was a DPU issue. The lights have been ordered already. We're waiting for them to be arrived, and that's filed in operations department. The netting is a school responsibility. The school has already ordered, and have been looking at quotes for the actual net. So they have to get 3 quotes because of the price of that. So once they get that, the maintenance department will install that actual netting. So that's still the same plan that needs to be discussed. Okay.
And what about the field?
The fields?
The field, you get ready to play on the field, are the coaches responsible for that, for the maintenance of the field, or
You know, and for cutting the field, the coaches cut them. We actually took over the actual treatment of the fields from the district's perspective. We did that last year, so we actually pay for the treatments of all athletic fields, but coaches do cut their fields, and Bob can speak more clearly to that.
So we have a vendor that comes in and works with each field at the beginning of the season. There's kind of a deluxe, what they have to do to skin the infields and get them ready to play and cut the edging for the surfaces around the infield. And so each school gets, like last year was OW and I think Edisto High School, but every school gets an annual service, and then every 3 years they'll get kind of that deluxe service. But then the coaches are responsible for cutting their field and making sure that they, line them and everything like that. But and the lights, actually, they started installing on Monday. They've gotten the first sets in. We're installing lights at all the schools, baseball and softball fields that were anything burned out.
Thank you. Thank you.
That was a good segue, I guess. Madam Vice Chair, board members, thank you for a chance to give you a couple of updates. We've got 3 different areas that I'm going to be updating you on, and excuse me, during the first update, Bob Dameron is here from Compass Financial, and he will come up here in just a few moments to give you a little bit more information. So the first area that we wanted to update you on was we had a Board Facilities Committee meeting on Friday, January 28th with Ms. Carson, Ms. Ulmer, and Chair Edwards were all able to be a part of that. And we had the folks from ABM come in to talk about the contract and proposal that was presented at the January meeting. And additionally, we also talked about what a construction manager at risk or CM at risk program entails. And some of that information is in your packets. So first I want to talk just as a reminder about ABM. They sent 5 of their staff members to come, and they basically reviewed the presentation that they did for all of you in January and gave the committee members a chance to ask questions and get feedback and get clarification on anything that they had questions about. We spent probably close to at least almost 2 hours, I think, with that group, and I thought it was a good time and an opportunity to get clarification for those folks. So just an overview of the ABM proposal. We've presented this a couple of times over the past few months. So the program overview, the needs for our school district. Every school and office was evaluated for their mechanical systems, lighting, water systems, building envelope. And the need is that there's about 91% of the mechanical systems or HVAC systems that are beyond the manufacturer's useful life. And I think Rick talked about, they looked at 2,200 pieces of equipment, and 2,006 of those pieces are past their useful life. The district staff, over the course of since October of 2019, when we converted to a single school dues work order system, they have over 7,000 work orders that they've received since that time, and over 50% of those are from HVAC, lighting, and water equipment repairs and issues. So just kind of reiterating that the need is there to do something with those systems before we get to a catastrophic failure. And then just as a reminder also, the inefficient HVAC systems are leading to higher costs for our energy, as well as the inefficient lighting, not having LED lighting, and then water equipment that allows sinks to run and things that just aren't as efficient as possible. 2 years ago, our costs were about $3.2 million. We're going to exceed that this year, again, because we have full buildings this school year as opposed to last year when we were out of the buildings a good bit. So that's just an overview of the needs. A basic overview of the program benefits would be that we would have new HVAC equipment in the identified facilities, new LED lights inside all of the buildings, in the egresses, and parking lots for the lights that are owned by the district. We talked about there's a number of places that we own the lights, and a number of schools that DPU owns, or the electric company, whatever electric company is servicing those schools own. But the ones that are owned by the district, we would change all of those as well. Water conservation equipment such as sinks with pedals that allow less water to be used. Low flow toilets would be installed, as well as changing out the flush valves inside to make toilets that are in good shape. The insides would be low flow. And then the lighting and energy control systems, making all of the lights inside LED lights with energy controls. So you walk out of a classroom and the light will turn off when it's not occupied, or in a in a large area like a cafeteria or somewhere. There's times in the morning where it's not used from for a couple of hours, and so the lights will cut off, as well as conference rooms in different places. And then the energy controls on all of our HVAC systems and kitchen equipment. And then one of the other things is that this would come with a 1-year HVAC control maintenance plan, that they would take care of all of our HVAC controls. They would take care of changing out filters and help us basically get to a preventative maintenance plan where we're working through preventing issues by changing filters and doing all the things that you need, instead of just fighting the fires where you're dealing with HVACs that are broken down. And then probably one of the most important parts of this is all the new HVAC equipment installed would come with the bipolar ionization, which would allow us to basically treat the air and kill viruses and things that would be in the air system. It also allows a ton more fresh air into classrooms, because when HVAC systems operate really well, they're allowing a lot of fresh air into the room instead of recycling air over and over. So this keeps our students and staff a lot safer. So the program overview, again, with our facilities, this only applies to the schools that were proposed. And then if the facilities plan changes based on what we've proposed, again, Dr. Foster mentioned, we're out there with our proposal. If things change, then the program and the contract with ABM can be amended to reflect facilities that will be in play, or things that we need to do for the facilities that will be staying. So understand that the contract is amendable if we are needing to make changes based on our facilities program. All right, so the overview of the cost is that it was about a $39.9 million contract, and the financial part of this is paid for with the savings from our energy bills, as well as the savings in operations. So that means instead of, where we might have to spend $8,000 to go fix a piece of equipment, well, if it's replaced, then that's operational savings, and that would be what we would reallocate to pay back the money for this program. And so now the hard part. Bob Cameron, if you'll come up here, he's going to talk to you about the resolution needed to issue the special obligation bond for for paying for this.
Thank you, Bob, and it's good to be with you all this evening. You have a resolution in front of you that was drafted by Ms. Heiser, who is your bond counsel. It is a very, it has a lot of flexibility in how we move and how we finance this process. This is to finance a performance contract. It will issue not to exceed $41 million through the use of special obligation bonds. This is not part of your 8% debt capacity, so it doesn't affect your debt limit in any shape, form, or fashion. As I said, the resolution includes a number of provisions that will allow Ms. Heiser's firm and our firm to seek the absolute lowest cost of capital from the markets, whether we go through the capital markets process of issuing special obligated bonds. That's where we go to New York and we sell the bonds, as we do it in any major construction phase, with a bond rating from Moody's and S&P, all the way to the process of should we be able to find a group of banks that are willing to bid on a 20-year piece of paper, finance it over 20 years. We would still have that flexibility to look at bidding to local banks. But my experience is that because of the size and because of the term being 20 years, we're not going to find banks that will bid on paper that are usually over 12 to 15 years. So We feel pretty certain that we'll be going through the special obligation bond process, and we'll have a full Moody's rating review, which we need to have, we'll essentially get our audit in. We'll start that process, assuming you all adopt the resolution. I'll be glad to answer any questions that you might have. This is very standard in the way that performance contracts are financed through other school districts around the state. And as I said, I'll be glad to answer questions that you all might have. This is an action item, Dr. Foster, so the board would need to approve it for us to start the process.
Ms. Damon, just as a point of clarity, this does not obligate, the resolution does not obligate to the school district at this time. That's not an obligation until we actually have confirmed financing and agreed on terms and conditions that our other legal counsel will actually draw up with actual ABM. So this just approves us to move forward to seek the different financial options. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Any questions for Mr.
Ms. Stevens, can you speak up? I can't hear you.
Everything sounds, my dad always said it sounds good, that the people what you're looking at. When said that about the amendment, I don't, said ABM, talking about ABM cost, said that they would amend when you're working. All this stuff will be writing.
Yes, ma'am. The amendment will come at our request. That means we will be making the amendment at that.
Running, not real. We will. I'm a little leery with, we got to ask for one, we're talking about doing one thing and then becoming, if we're gonna get rid of schools, then why are we?
The schools that we're in the plan are not included in this.
So these schools are good.
Yes, ma'am, that's correct.
So you're working on schools that's gonna stay.
That is correct. Those are the only ones. If in the event that the plan is not approved and some school remains, then that's where the amendment process, where we would have to make that request. It's not them making an amendment to us.
I'm not really supposed to be right. Not tonight. I need to do that.
Any other questions or concerns for Mr. Damon? Ms. Ulmer?
I don't know, as part of the agenda, are we coming down to construction manager? We can talk about that a little later.
Yes, ma'am, that's the next few slides in this.
Any other questions or concerns? This is an action item, and at this time, I'm going to entertain a motion to enter into the negotiations with ABM to settle the contracts for this resolution.
Madam Vice Chair, I make a motion that we approve the resolution for the energy performance contract.
Okay.
There's a motion and second that we approve the resolution for the energy performance contract with ABM. At this time, all in favor, please raise your hand. You have to count. Ms. Edwards?
I'm in favor.
Dr. Quinn?
I'm opposed.
Okay, so we have those numbers, those opposed? May I see the hands of those who oppose? 2, and Dr. Quinn, 3. May I have those numbers, Slender? May I have those numbers, please?
Oh, yes, ma'am. In favor, we had, 4 for.
Ms. Slender? I didn't hear you.
Oh, I'm sorry. We had 4 that are present, and then Ms. Edwards for 5 in favor.
Okay, so the motion carries.
Thank you all.
You call for the question? I asked if there were any questions.
I raised my hand.
A question?
I'm sorry.
Okay, that's all right, it's back to going now. I had a question about, some clarification there. Okay.
Okay, the next big topic that we talked about was the construction manager at risk, and you'll hear folks refer to that as a CMAR or CM at risk. And inside of your packet, there is a 3-page overview that you received, just giving you some highlights of what a construction manager does and how it can benefit the district. Our intention is to post an RFP tomorrow, and I'm going to go through kind of what that timeline would look like. And what we wanted to make sure that everybody was clear when we talked about in that meeting is that there's no risk or obligation for the district once we post that. We're just posting it, and then we can go through the process in the district. The board would come back and be responsible for approving that contract. And so by us posting it, we've not obligated the district for anything other than to go through the process and then bring back a recommendation to the board. And so I wanted to talk just a little bit about what that process is going to look like, and then talk a little bit about the benefits, and there is one risk with using a CMAR. So the biggest benefit to using a construction manager at risk is that we get a guaranteed maximum price on any construction projects. So at the very beginning of the project, we talk and we come through and we decide, okay, this is the maximum price that we're going to spend on this project. The construction manager then has to make sure that they meet our deadlines and that they do the project within that dollar amount. If they don't, then the short or the overflow or the additional money would be on the construction manager. It would not be a risk to the district. So just using an easy number, if we say, okay, it's $1 million project, and the project comes in at $1,050,000, then that's $50,000 that the construction manager lost. The CMAR, or the construction manager, they also provide additional services. So they provide things like, to us, they provide architectural engineering, and they can use folks that we've already approved. If you remember, a couple of years ago, we went through the architectural and engineering RFP, and we have a couple of preferred vendors. They would use those folks, but they would then also work with them. They also do things like surveying, and then the biggest benefit to us, besides the guaranteed maximum price, is the managing of the construction project. And then also what helps us is that they're contractually bound to deliver the project on time at the agreed to costs. We know how much construction has risen just over the last 2 years, 2.5 years. Things like just buying an HVAC system that may have been 10 grand a couple of years ago is now 15 to 20 grand. So things are rising steeply and quickly. And so when you get that guaranteed maximum price, you're sure that you're going to get your project in for that price, and you're not stuck with additional costs. The biggest risk using a CMAR is that we could bid out each part of every single job, and we might be able to get a lower cost. We might bid out the surveying of the land. We might bid out the putting in the utilities, and we could do all of that as each piece of the project comes up, and we might get a little bit lower price. But then we also, the way construction costs continue to rise, it may be significantly higher. So if you kind of get all of that captured up from the front end, then that guaranteed maximum price allows you to be confident moving forward that your project's going to be delivered for the amount of money that you have. Dr. Foster, I know that you have used this in the past, and you have used the other methods where you're doing the bidding on parts of the project, and you've talked about that there are benefits each way and how you've worked with that in the past.
Yes, I've had the opportunity to use both delivery methods, and given the condition of the actual construction market is I think the best way to decide how to do this. I'm a fan of low bid projects. That's no secret. However, I think in making the best recommendation to the board, given the volatility of the construction market, and avoid having to come back to the board and say, we have a change order for this amount, and then potentially, like some school districts you may have seen, he'll later try to find additional funding to fill that gap. this is a way to guarantee that this is the said price that we're paying, and it is what it is, and that the risk is on the actual general contractor and not on us in the event that there's a spike in construction cost. So given the volatility of the construction market, this would be my recommendation and approach to go if the plan in November is approved to add any facilities for our students and teachers.
And so I wanted to just review the timeline of what this is going to look like as we're planning to post the RFP tomorrow. And again, as a reminder, it's no obligation or risk to the district. It's not the contract. It's just posting the RFP so vendors can start. And you may ask why we would do this now. Well, we're going to be dealing with some tight timelines. And so whenever we can get started a few weeks earlier, things that we can get moving quickly, we want to do that. So March 16th would be the deadline for any vendors to respond. And then by March 23rd, the district would complete the evaluation using the scoring matrix that the procurement department has developed. And then we would bring in top scoring firms for interviews, as we've done before for some of the other projects that we've done. And the board facilities committee members would be a part of that interview committee. We do the interviews, we score those interviews, and then we determine the recommendation that we would bring to the full board for final approval of a contract based on that, and that would happen in April. So again, this is not a quick process, so that's why we would want this to get started on going ahead and getting the posting now, so that by the middle of April, we would be ready with a potential firm to be able to move forward with any possible proposed construction projects. The planning of the projects, I should say, not the actual projects themselves, but going ahead and getting the planning, because again, as a reminder, they would help with the architectural and engineering and surveying and all those different services they would provide to the district.
So, Madam Vice Chair, I want to add something for clarity as folks are listening as well. This is a process that will need to happen regardless. If the plan is not successful, no harm, no foul. It's just a process that you have procured these individuals. So I want to make sure that in no way are we being presumptuous about anything. But it would be malpractice, in my opinion, as a superintendent, not to plan so that if something happens and we are successful, and then I'm scrambling to try to make good on what I said I could do. So what I am doing now is trying to put those things in place so that in the event that we're successful and this community decides we want something new for our students, then we're in a process to do that. Because as I mentioned earlier, construction costs will not go down. So the more we push something down the road, the more potential that the costs will go up. So that's what this is a practice in doing. And at worst case scenario, you have something in place that you can use in future times that you don't have to do. This is a process that has to happen regardless. So I just want to make sure that that's clear for the community, and not knowing what will be printed. I wanted to make sure that I said that and went on record, said this is a process of preparation, not a process of saying this is what it is we're going to do. This is the background work that has to happen.
Are there any questions regarding this? And then I've got some good news to close out with.
Mr. Ray, how do we obtain the CMAR, construction manager at this?
So that we would post the RFP with the specs requesting companies that provide those services to bid and submit a packet. And then at the conclusion of this process in April is that we would sign a contract with them, agreeing to terms, and then they would then be representing the district. Having not gone through this fully, I know that the man sitting next to me has gone through this and can explain it a lot better than I can.
So that process on the board there is where it goes out for bid, which will have, and it's open bid. Any general contractor company, they're able to submit their bid. Then they'll be scored by a panel and then brought in. If we have 30, obviously we're not going to bring in all 30, you'll score those and then decide to bring in 10 for actual face-to-face interviews. And then they'll be brought in for presentations. You're on the facilities committee, So you will be part of those actual presentations as well. And then, once the presentations are scored along with the actual scoring, and have to make sure that the minimum qualifications, we send all of those who were actually interviewed packets to the full board for their review, and then bring forth a recommendation from the facilities committee for a CMRS contractor or multiple. It doesn't have to necessarily be one. That's for the committee to decide. So this is the actual process of selecting a CMRS.
Okay, so the CMRS comes with the RFP, that's why we use RFP instead of the RFQ.
Well, RFQ, same premise. Some people call it RFP, some people MOA, MOU. It's the
But the
same.
RFP, we don't exactly look at the detailed qualifications.
Yes,
Right?
you
It's
do.
open to everybody?
Yes, you do. It's open to everybody.
Okay, the RFP is open to everybody.
Both of them are.
But which one requires more of their qualification and their credentials? They all the same?
It's just who chooses to use P or the R. I mean,
Okay.
use like an MOU, some people use the memorandum of understanding, some people use the memorandum of agreement.
Okay.
Same
That's what we're
term.
supposed to do tomorrow.
Yeah, we actually will determine what those qualifications are. We'll set that out, and that's done through our procurement office.
And once we get everybody, what's our minority goal in the hiring of, for this particular project?
The ultimate goal in this project is
Minority goal.
the minority.
Minority.
So you're gonna hire one, the CMRS is a one general contractor. That general contractor then works to acquire the subs for the actual individual work. So we can place on the actual general contractor a percentage of minority contractors to use in that actual process.
Okay, so are we looking at the percentage thus far, or are we going to?
It is always our goal to use the majority, as many minority contractors as we can possibly use. So I believe there's a 10%, I've heard, I hadn't seen that in policy, that they would require that if possible, or seek the minority involvement. So that's what we do now. That will be no different than what we actually try to go out for now.
No, it's in our policy. It's in our policy.
What is it? I know 10% is the minority for the vendors, for state vendors. But with the minority goal, we can go outside of the state, right?
Yeah, we can go outside the state, but, and our policy still applies to anything we do. This does not circumvent our policy.
Okay, thank you.
Vice Chair, Mr. Grant, there's a classroom at Tyler High School that's been without heat for 3 weeks, approximately 3 weeks. This is what I'm hearing from some parents. So they're waiting on a part to be ordered. Are you familiar with that?
Not the specific classroom, but Dr. Foster and I had a conversation today about an area at a school with the same concern. We've got multiple places that we have, and we're waiting for parts or units to be delivered so that we can get them installed. The good news is that with our performance contract, we should be able to get beyond having those issues.
Thank you.
So the last thing, Madam Vice Chair, that I want to talk about is bringing back the USDA grant. We talked about this last year, I believe it was the May 11th meeting, and we talked about the large award that our district had received. And I mentioned that there were some grants, about $240,000, that we had not yet received. Well, we were notified that we have now received those awards as well. So what this requires, as it did last time, is that we're gonna have to take action on each individual grant, and the grants are done by location. Some of the locations have 2 items, some only have 1, but the USDA has approved $237,500 additional dollars from those 2021 grants, and they're to be used at Dover Elementary, which is, again, remember, this is just a percentage of the cost. So a new secure entrance at Dover, which is about $50,000, they're gonna pay $37,500 of that. At HKT, the installation of security cameras, access doors in the track, Again, this is about 50% of the total cost. So the cost for those two projects are around $140,000. They're going to cover $73,900. North Middle High, the track, again, that's around $100,000. They're covering $50,000. And then at Bethune-Bowman, the track and the scoreboard, those are going to cost, again, around $150,000. And USDA is going to pay for $76,400 worth on that work. So these are the final, this is everything now that we applied for back in the spring of '21. These are all of those grants, and some of the work is actually already underway or finished at some of these sites because, again, these are reimbursable grants. We had to pay for the costs up front, and then the USDA will reimburse us for those costs once we get everything approved. And so these items take 4 different motions, and I think that you all have a copy of those, and it's by location, and then they would have to be signed off. The way that USDA has everything is that the board secretary would sign off on all of the documents as well as the superintendent, allowing us to receive those grant funds. So at this time, I would ask for action on these 4. First of all, are there questions about these 4 items before I do that?
Any questions about any of the awards? If not, then I'll entertain a motion first for the project at Dover.
Madam Vice Chair, I make a motion that the board authorize the superintendent to accept this grant from USDA Rural Development Office in the amount of $50,000 for use at projects at Dover Elementary.
Second.
It has been properly moved and second that we authorize the superintendent to accept the grant for $50,000 for use at projects at Dover Elementary. All those in favor? Mrs. Edwards?
I'm in favor.
Dr. Quinn?
I'm in favor.
Motion carries. Motion number 2, HKT.
Madam Vice Chair, I make a motion that the board authorize the superintendent to accept this grant from the USDA Rural Development Office in the amount of $73,900 for use at projects at HKT facilities.
It has been properly moved and second that we authorize the superintendent to accept the amount of $73,900 for use of projects at HKT facilities. All those in favor? Mrs. Edwards?
I'm in favor.
Dr. Quinn?
I'm in favor.
Motion carries. Our third motion is for North Middle High.
Madam Vice Chair, I make a motion that the board authorize the superintendent to accept this grant from the USDA Rural Development Office in the amount of $94,800 for use at project at North Middle High facilities.
It has been moved and seconded that we authorize the superintendent to accept $94,800 for use of projects at North Middle High facility. All those in favor? Mrs. Edwards?
I'm in favor.
Dr. Quinn?
I'm in favor.
Motion carries. And lastly, for Bowman Bethune Middle High.
Madam Vice Chair, I make a motion that the board authorize the superintendent to accept this grant from the USDA Rural Development Office in the amount of $76,400 for use at projects at Bethune-Bowman Middle High.
It has been properly moved and seconded that we authorize the superintendent to accept the amount of $76,400 for project uses at Bethune-Bowman Middle High School. All those in favor? Mrs. Edwards?
I'm in favor.
Dr. Quinn? Dr. Quinn? We lost him. Okay. Motion carries. Thank you so much for your attention to those matters.
All right, thank you, and Ms. Garson and I will get together through Ms. Gardner to get all of the documents signed, and then we'll get Dr. Foster to sign everything, and we'll get everything submitted to the USDA. Thank you.
Madam Vice Chair, on the paper here, Mr. Grant, it says 50,000 for North Middle High School track, and we just voted on, what was it, 94,000 or something?
That was the total cost of the project.
So we should have voted on the 50,000. On your sheet here, you have 50,000.
I don't have that in front of me. It should be 50,000 at North Middle High.
Right. And we shouldn't have voted on the
Was that the
total
total
project.
for
The total for the project would have been probably the 90.
Right.
Yeah, because they're paying the 50% of that. So we need to make an additional motion for the 50,000 for.
You need to amend the motion. Well, it's been voted on. Yeah.
Would somebody be willing to amend the motion, make a motion to amend the motion?
Madam Vice Chair,
Yes.
I so move that we amend the said motion as it relates to North Middle High School, with the USDA grant award from, the previous amount was it 90 what?
94,800.
94,000 to 50,000. I so move.
Second. You heard the motion to amend the amount of funds for North Middle High School from 94,800 to 50,000. All those in favor of the motion? Mrs. Edwards?
I'm in favor.
Dr. Quinn?
I'm in favor.
Thank you. Motion carries.
Thank you.
That was your side. Thank you.
Madam Vice Chair, as Dr. Washington makes his way to the podium along with some guests here, I want to take a short personal privilege to introduce these gentlemen that are coming forward. This is Mr. Glenn Robinson and Mr. Watson Cleckley. He's a teacher at Orangeburg, Wilson, Mr. Robinson, and Mr. Cleckley is also an assistant principal. They're part of our leadership academy. So what Dr. Washington is going to tell you in a little more detail is the calendar option that you have before you was a process that was done in conjunction with the leadership academy members, our former teachers of the year and support staff of the year who facilitated these individuals through this process. And as I explained to the group that leadership is not just about sitting and learning, it's about doing and standing up and being in the space. So they're here, and the only reason they're here is because they're the first two to hit I'll do it. I sent it out to the entire group and I said, first replies are actually the ones who get to come present. And we had one individual, Miss Destin Tiller, who beat one of them to the punch, but she had a prior engagement, so she was not able to come do it. So you have these gentlemen here, and they can walk you through the process. So I'm going to turn it over, and I was going to ask him to do some other things, but I won't put you on the spot the first go around like I told you. So I'll turn it over to Dr. Washington.
Good evening, Madam Chair, Vice Chair, Board members, Dr. Foster. I'm in agreement with what Dr. Foster said, so I'd like to call up Mr. Glenn Robinson and Mr. Watson Clark.
Good evening, Madam Chair, Madam Vice Chair, distinguished board members, and Superintendent Foster.
We are Watson Cleckley and Mr. Glenn Robinson, and we thank you kindly. We thank you kindly for the opportunity to speak with you this evening. We represent the current cohort of the Leadership Academy for the Orangeburg County School District. Our purpose tonight is to explain to you the process we use to develop the operational calendar for the 2022-23 school year.
We engaged in a collaborative process in which all members of the cohort were divided into 4 teams to develop our calendars. Each team had 6 cohort members from various schools assigned to it, and we were mentored by past teachers and staff members of the year. Each team then set up a time to work collaboratively to develop their calendar. Additionally, each team sought the input of their colleagues with their respective buildings. We then met in a whole group setting at our last Leadership Academy meeting to narrow our selections down to 2 options for the calendar. Those 2 options were then voted upon by the faculty and staff from all district work sites. The option that you have before you tonight is the result of that effort.
2 considerations that you will see reflected in the option before you make the 2022-23 school year calendar unique. First, an emphasis was placed on trying to provide more breaks for children into the schedule. By strategically placing the professional developments, we were able to create an additional 4-day weekend for each semester. Also, we have provided for a 5 calendar day transition period between the semesters. This is primarily done to benefit those who work at the high school level. By creating this break, the high schools are able to close out first semester and transition to second semester. This is an essential item to improve upon the efficiency of the high school calendar to better meet the needs of our students in this somewhat chaotic time period.
Ladies and gentlemen, we will now turn the presentation back to Dr. Washington, and we stand ready to answer any questions that you may have this evening. Dr. Washington.
Okay, before you, in your folders, you have 2 calendars, calendar A and calendar B. You also have the results from the poll that we took from all district employees. Obviously, you see calendar B is the choice that has been selected. So I'm bringing this forward tonight for first reading. This is an action item.
Dr. Washington, not Dr. Washington, I'm sorry, Mr. Robinson, Mr. Cleckley, could you all point out some of the distinct differences between the A and B, specifically in regards to the return from Christmas break? I want to make sure that is publicly.
Yes, sir, we'd be happy to address that. In this particular calendar year that we're in right now, the 21-22 school year, we were afforded in this year's calendar a 1-day professional development day at the beginning well, not the beginning of the semester, but as we returned back from Christmas break. What we wound up doing is, instead of leaving that day there, in discussions with our colleagues throughout the district, that day is put into that 5-day grouping that we have at the semester transition period. For us in the high school settings, that is a very chaotic time, where our elementary and middle schools, those children stay with their same schedules throughout the year. For us at the high school level, it becomes rather difficult to settle and reconcile grades, bed down first semester, and then transition with all of the inherent schedule changes and things like that that occur at the beginning of second semester, just like you would have at the beginning of the year across the district. This time period, by moving that day to provide for this, it's 5 calendar days, including a working weekend for us there at the high school levels, and those folks that are directly involved with that, we will be able to provide better service to our children and better service for our staffs working with those children with that adoption or the adaptation schedule to allow for that process.
Thank you, Mr. Robinson. So I'm going to simplify what Mr. Robinson just said. In calendar B, New Year's Day is on Sunday. Teachers and students return on Monday together. That's what the teachers voted on. In calendar A, there was just a holiday on the 2nd and a teacher work day on the 3rd. However, the Christmas break leading up did not give you the whole week in calendar A. It lets you out a half day on the 2nd. So that's where the difference is. But our teachers have spoken. I explained to the Leadership Academy that the one thing about being in this position is that the calendar is not for me. I gotta be here every day anyway. So this is what the teachers so choose to do. Then we want to hear and make sure that they have input in this process. And I believe they did and they spoke. So thank you all for leading the process. The whole entire Leadership Academy. This wasn't these two gentlemen. But they had a great job, did a great job of not only looking at the laws that govern the school calendar, learning that process, and having some really, really in-depth discussions about as we analyze the actual calendars that were brought forth. So thank you all for that. And again, I'll turn back over to Dr. Washington for action.
Good question. It's now an entertain a motion for first reading for the 22-23 academic calendar.
Madam Vice Chair, I move to accept the 2022-2023 academic calendar as presented for first reading.
It's been properly moved and second that we move to accept the 22-23 academic calendar as presented for first reading this evening. All those in favor? Mrs. Edwards?
I'm in favor.
Dr. O'Quinn?
I'm in favor.
I have just two more updates for you this evening. For board policy update, section I under instruction. If you remember last month, we brought this section to you all for some discussion, and there were some questions. The instructional team has gone back and they've started or continue to review through section I, and we will bring that back in March for a second reading. Any questions about that? And then finally, our strategic plan update. As you know, last April, we began work on our district-wide strategic plan, and stakeholders met, worked for 3 days over at the YMCA. We created a district vision, mission, beliefs. Stakeholders also created district-wide goals. Since that time, action teams have been assembled and action steps have been created to match those specific goals. We are meeting this Thursday at the new library to connect those action plans to the goals that were created. So this document will come forward in March as a completed document for our district-wide strategic plan moving forward. I just wanted to update you all where we were in that process. Any questions about that?
Good evening again, Madam Chair, Orangeburg County School District Board of Trustees, Dr. Foster. Just wanted to update you briefly about our Orangeburg County School District Career Fair. The Career Fair will take place on March 5th at 9 a.m. to 12 noon. It will take place at the Orangeburg County Library and Conference Center. All school sites and departments will participate. All of the applicants will have an opportunity to visit with their school representatives, interview, and we will offer contracts on site. It is a face-to-face event, but we are also offering a virtual component to that for those individuals who might not be comfortable coming in and meeting face-to-face. We are partnering with communications to promote the event, and this is our digital platform that we use to promote it, and it's currently up now. On where is that one located?
That billboard is, that one is one of ours that are along the interstate, and we actually, it was updated yesterday since it's a digital board, so that was one of the benefits in us having at least one of those that we can switch out as often as we need it.
Thank you, ma'am. We will also utilize radio, television, social media, all platforms in order to get this event out. Are there any questions? All right, thank you.
At this time, I'll entertain a motion to go into executive session for the purpose of personnel recommendations and contractual matters.
Second.
All those in favor? Ms. Ballmer, I'm sorry, Ms. Edwards?
I'm in favor.
Dr. Quinn?
In favor.
Okay.
make a motion that we come out of executive session, return to open session.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we return to open session. At this time, we'll entertain any action. I'm sorry. All those in favor? Mrs. Edwards?
I'm in favor.
Dr. Quinn?
I'm in favor.
At this time, we'll entertain any action, coming out of executive session.
Madam Vice Chair, I move that we approve the recommendation for personnel and separation for employment.
Second.
You've heard the motion, and it's been second that we accept the recommendation for personnel recommendation and separation. All those in favor? Mrs. Edwards?
I'm in favor.
Dr. Quinn?
I'm in favor.
The motion carries. Are there any announcements at this time?
Madam Vice Chair,
Reverend Brown?
board members, I just like to let the record reflect that I was very proud of our superintendent and how he represented us on the panel down in Charleston. He represented us well. I think you were there as well. Did a good job now, very good job. At the SCAFD meeting.
Okay, any other announcements? If not, our next meeting is scheduled for March 8th, 2022, 6:30 p.m. here at Founders Court. Have a good evening.